Hello, Mishpacha, it's Courtney, America's Jewish mother, and I am here today with a Tag Tuesday. In fact, it's a double Tag Tuesday, so I am going to do the DNF tag and the favorite characters tag. I'm going to do the DNF tag first, followed by the favorite characters tag. So the DNF tag was originally created by Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. I will link their original tag video down below, and I was tagged in this by Shawn the Book Maniac. I will link his version of this tag down below. And by the way, if you have not watched Shawn the Book Maniac's version of this tag, it's iconic. You should absolutely go watch it right now before you even finish watching mine. Shawn, in case you do not know this, is the self-proclaimed Empress of Bailing, and the title of the video is something like "The Empress of Bailing deigns to weigh in on the DNF tag," and it is every bit as iconic as that title would lead you to believe. So Shawn, thank you for tagging me in this. Okay, so question 1, do you DNF? Yes, but it is relatively rare for me to DNF a book. By the way, I'm going to be referring to my laptop, so if I look over some, that's why. Question 2, if you DNF a book, does it count towards books read for the month? No, because I didn't read the whole book, and so I don't consider it finished. And if you watch Scott and Nell's original video for this tag, they have two different answers. Nell thinks it shouldn't count, and Scott thinks it should count, and he kind of has an interesting reasoning for why he thinks it should count. He says, you know, well, you put labor into that book, and therefore you should count it. And I kind of get that, but I'm still siding with the majority of people who've done this tag and say no, it doesn't count because you didn't finish the book. Question 3, is there a difference between DNF and just putting it down for a bit? I would say yes. I have sometimes had to put a book down for a little while just because it was either tough reading and I just need a little bit of time away from it, and or I had other things going on and had to put it down for a little while I attended to other non-reading things. But I don't think I've ever put a book down for more than, say, a week or two while I was actively reading it. So that's probably the upper limit of time that I would consider putting it down versus I'm just not going to finish it. Question 4, what popular book have you DNF'd? White Teeth by Zadie Smith, which I DNF'd over the summer. I read 150 pages of it. It's like, I think, about a 450 page book, and so I guess I read a third, 35%, something like that, and I just didn't care about any of the characters, and I didn't want to have to read 300 more pages of characters that I didn't care about. So yeah, sorry if you like that book. Question 5, what book do you wish you would DNF? The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy, which I absolutely hate read from start to finish. And it was just as bad as it seemed at the beginning, and I hate read it so that I could give it a 2-star rating on Goodreads and be justified in that. Question 6, do you ever attempt to reread a DNF? Has this ever been successful for you? I have not tried to do this, but again, I rarely DNF, so trying to reread something that I previously did not finish doesn't necessarily seem worth the while. Although, I will say, if you saw my October TBR video, I did mention at least one book in that I bought many years ago when I started reading and never finished it, and I have a lot of books like that I bought with every intention of reading them and started them, and I just didn't finish them. And it wasn't because I was actively trying not to finish them because I disliked them, but I just got interested in other things and never came back to it. So yeah, anyway, so I guess that's sort of an attempt of rereading a DNF, but I also feel like there's somewhat of a distinction between a true DNF, which I would say is you attempt to read a book and just don't get on with it and stop reading it because you're not getting on with it for one reason or another, versus you start a book with the intention of finishing it and then other things just kind of get in the way and then you just manage to not finish it. Let me know if you have thoughts about what constitutes a true DNF down in the comments below. Number 7, what do you do with books you DNF? So I still have White Teeth, but I'm probably going to unhaul it at some point. And the only other book this year that I've DNF'd is Paris Trout by Pete Dexter, and that was a library copy. Thank goodness, because I would have hated to have bought that book for how much I disliked it. Question 8, do you choose more or less risky titles because of your stance on DNF? So I'm definitely less risk-taking in the books that I pick up to read because I so rarely DNF. And with the exception of book club picks or books that I teach for my classes where sometimes I will assign a book that I've never read before so that I'm forced to read it. But generally speaking, other than those situations, I really only pick up titles that sound genuinely interesting or compelling to me in some way. I'm not like, oh yeah, I'll just try this, and if I don't like it, I'll just stop reading it. No, I'm very sort of methodical about what I'm intending to read. And the last point on this is to tag people, and I will do that at the end of the second tag. So moving along to the favorite characters tag. This original tag was created by Leo at A Little Book Life. I will link his original tag video down below, and I was tagged in this by Brian at Bookish. Brian, thank you for tagging me in this. I will link Brian's version of this tag down below, which you should watch because it's also quite good. Question 1. A character that you love fiercely. Oh, I'm also going to say here that in thinking about my answers to this tag, I mostly reached for my favorite books in general, so you're going to hear me mention several of my favorite books on here a lot, including in this first prompt. So prompt 1, a character that you love fiercely. So I picked Belize from Angels in America, probably my favorite thing that has ever been written on the planet. It is a play by Tony Kushner in 2 parts. It is subtitled A Gay Fantasia on National Themes, and if that doesn't make you want to go pick it up and read it right now, I have no idea what will. Belize is my favorite character in that play because he is kind of the moral center of the play, and also because he's just great. He's this African-American ex-drag queen nurse who just, again, is kind of the moral center of this play and schools everybody else around him on what is what. And he has this great speech in part 2 of the book where he just so succinctly indicts the United States for racism, basically. And anyways, it's really great. So I would say Belize. He's awesome. Also excellently portrayed by Jeffrey Wright in the HBO miniseries version. Prompt 2, a character that is heavily flawed but you cannot help but love. So for this I picked Henrietta Stackpole from Henry James's The Portrait of a Lady, which I read over the summer. And Henrietta Stackpole is the kind of person where if you were friends with her in real life, you wouldn't like her because she's just very sort of brash and obnoxious and will ask you absolutely anything. She does not care. But because I was only reading about her in a book and was not friends with her in real life, I found her immensely entertaining, and I loved every time she had a scene with any of the characters because you knew entertaining things were about to happen. So yeah, even though, again, she's not someone I would want to be friends with, or not the type of person I would like to be friends with in real life, because again, that would be obnoxious, but it was super entertaining in this book. Question 3, a character that made you laugh out loud. So I picked Hank Devereaux, or William Henry Devereaux, from Richard Russo's novel Straight Man, and this is, I think, the first quote-unquote campus novel that I read, and it kind of made me fall in love with the campus novel genre. So Hank Devereaux is a professor of English, I think maybe a professor of creative writing, I don't actually remember now. But anyway, he's been made the chair of the English department at this college where he works, and basically the whole book is just about his sort of misadventures as the chair of the English department, and at one point on camera he threatens to kill a duck a day because there's like a pond on the campus where all these ducks are, and he threatens to kill a duck a day until he gets a budget for the English department, and it's just crazy slapstick stuff like that he does, and anyway, yeah, he's quite humorous and definitely made me laugh out loud at several points. Prompt number 4, a child character that you like. So this is another all-time favorite book of mine. I picked the McTeer sisters, Claudia and Frida, from Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. This book is narrated from the perspective of Claudia, and she and her sister Frida just are some of the only people who actually support Pecola Breedlove, who plays heavily into the story as well, and just has terrible tragedies befall her, but just wishes that she had blue eyes, which is where the title of the book comes from. And yeah, and it's a totally sad story. It'll 100% break your heart, but Claudia and Frida were so great because they were, again, some of the few, you know, of any characters who actually cared about Pecola and supported her. So I appreciated them for that. Prompt number 5, an animal character that you love. So because I read mainly literary fiction, I don't read a ton of books that have animal characters, so I had to reach way down deep for this answer. So I picked a book that I reread earlier this year, Anna Karenina, and I picked Laska, who is Levin's dog that he goes hunting with, because Tolstoy actually gives you, on a couple of occasions, the perspective of Laska, which I thought was just so great. And so even though she's not on you know, in the book very much, the fact that you get the dog's perspective, amazing. Prompt number 6, a strong woman character that you like. This is me. What strong woman character do I not like? Let's be real. But again, I went for one of my favorites, Angels in America, and I actually picked 2 characters from this. Hannah, who is the Mormon mother, who sort of surprisingly, you know, even though she comes from this very sort of old-fashioned value system, ends up helping one of the main characters tremendously and becoming this source of strength and support for him, and becomes sort of more progressive than you would think in her worldviews, and kind of probably is already a little bit more progressive in her worldviews than you would expect a religious Mormon to be. And the other character from that play that I picked is Ethel Rosenberg, the ghost of Ethel Rosenberg, who haunts the dying Roy Cohn throughout Angels in America, because she's great. She's just following him and saying, you know, basically saying, I'm so glad that I get to see you dying when you know, did this horrible thing to me. In case you were unaware of the historical context for this, Roy Cohn was an actual person, and he was heavily involved with the case against Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, who were tried for espionage and treason against the United States, and were in fact executed for the crime of espionage and treason against the United States during the Cold War. And it was sort of revealed later that Julius probably was actually involved in espionage, but Ethel probably didn't actually know anything about it. And so anyway, so in the play, Ethel's ghost haunts Roy Cohn as he dies, and it's amazing. So she's my other favorite strong woman character from Angels in America. Prompt 7, a brave character that you admire. So for this, I picked a book that I read at the beginning of this year, which was Chaim Potok's My Name is Asher Lev. And Asher Lev is just, he's very brave because he comes from this Hasidic Orthodox Jewish background, and he has a gift for art, and it's very difficult for him to be caught between having this talent for art versus his religious upbringing, and the fact that his father thinks being gifted at art is basically a waste, because why should you be out painting things when you could be, you know, doing religious work for the community and things like that. And his mother sort of tries to support him and be kind of the go-between between him and his father, and it's very difficult for him to ultimately kind of, slight spoiler alert here, make kind of a break with the Hasidic Orthodox community to pursue his art. But it's a very brave thing to do, because it's hard to just leave everything you've ever known behind you, and to leave the community in which you were brought up behind you, and even your family to a certain extent. So I think he's quite brave. Prompt number 8, a character that scares the hell out of you. So I've talked about this character a lot lately, but Sister Leopolda from Louise Erdrich's novels, including Tracks and Love Medicine and The Last Report on the Miracles of Little No Horse. She's a great love to hate her character, but also she's scary. So, especially the stories I read about her in Love Medicine, holy crap. So yeah, I definitely would not want to be anywhere near Sister Leopolda. I would be very afraid. Prompt number 9, a really mean character. Again, Angels in America, Roy Cohn, he's super mean. And I think if you know anything about the historical Roy Cohn, you don't need an explanation for that. But if you don't know anything about the historical Roy Cohn, read this play. In fact, if you do know anything about the historical Roy Cohn, read this play anyway. It's so great. Prompt number 10, a character that you really hate. Paris Trout from Pete Dexter's book of the same name, because I hated Paris Trout so much, the character, that I DNF'd it because he's an irredeemable sociopath, and I didn't want to see what else he was going to do because it was just going to be horrible, and again, he's just an irredeemable sociopath. Like, honestly, even Roy Cohn in Angels in America is not as bad as Paris Trout from Pete Dexter's book, and that's saying something. Okay, so now I'm going to tag people. So even though Scott and Nell originated the DNF tag, I'm going to tag them in the favorite characters tag. And then everyone else I'm about to say, please feel free to do one or both of these tags as you like. So the other people I'm going to tag are Conrad at Swordspeak, Duncan McCurdy, Paula at Draw Your Book, and Jenny at What's Bookin'. So again, please feel free to do one or both of these tags. And again, thank you to Shawn and Brian for tagging me in these. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you are all staying healthy and doing good reading. And until next time, would it kill you to call your mother?